Hi, I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And welcome to episode 98 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 47 of City Hunter, titled, Wanting to Fall in Love Just Like a Dream, The Strategy of a 12-Year-Old Angel, Part 1. This, honestly, I think is one of my favorite City Hunter episodes, like this two-parter. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The next two-parter we do after this is even more amazing than this, and probably the seminal episodes, but I really do like these.
Yeah, they're alright. They're fun enough. They're very classic, this is how these characters behave, you know? And I think it's the best expectation of kind of the relationship Ryo and Kaori have all the way up until you get some sort of confirmation that they are interacting with each other in the way they've been building up to this whole time, and that's coming real soon.
It's coming real soon.
And then it's downhill from there.
Now, don't oversell it, or we don't want to turn people off to it necessarily. It's just, we will hit the heights, is what's happening. We're gonna hit the heights.
This is just like peak, do they or don't they care about each other kind of a moment here in these couple of episodes.
I think these episodes here, this one that we're covering and then next week, is a good example of what the show became once it hit its stride.
Right.
Like, the banter is there, the interaction and interplay with them. It's like a well-crafted sitcom at this point.
Right.
And so there's a lot of fun to be had here. These characters know what they're about. They know who they are. The audience has gotten to know them. And you can just sit back and enjoy this episode for what it is.
And there is a lot to enjoy about this episode. There's quite a lot of it that was pretty memorable to me, in fact.
Like, Ryo thinks himself a sexy man, but you know what he's not too sexy for? Copyright infringement, i.e. taking part in copyright infringement right here at the beginning.
There's a lot of copyright infringement right off the bat. Pretty early on, not gonna lie.
And then just a quick update, just to touch on it. So we've been talking and mentioning here on the show that we're getting ready to go visit Shinjuku ourselves.
Right.
Here in just a little under a month now. We're gearing up for it. And we are seeing, in fact, that all of the advertising in that area has been taken over by Godzilla. So it's going to be real hard for us to find anything City Hunter. But hopefully we'll still find Ryo. Maybe we'll find a couple of little nuggets out there.
I feel like it's not going to be totally impossible. That film has just come out within the last month. I feel like it's not just going to disappear entirely.
God, I hope not.
I think there's just going to be stuff.
Well, I want to find stuff. We're gonna go look for it. But that having been said, let's go ahead and jump right into this episode, which is going to be a little hefty because there's a bunch of little points we got to pick out and dissect here. So here at the top of the show, we're introduced to a little girl who will go ahead and give you guys her name up front. Her name is Kozue Makihara. She lives at home with her older sister, and unfortunately, Kozue is not just bedridden, she's also wheelchair bound.
She's paralyzed.
From the waist down.
She can't walk. There's reasons. We'll find out those reasons later.
And so a lot of this episode is much like the classic Jimmy Stewart movie Rear Window, where that character equally was bound to a wheelchair and didn't get out very much. And so as a result of that, the only way they could experience the outside world was through a telescope.
And so that's what she's doing. She's just kind of looking at people. There's people out and walking around. There's people playing tennis. There's all kinds of people just to people watch. And nobody's doing anything bad. She's just enjoying seeing what it is that people actually do when they can walk and she can't. Kind of sad, actually.
Like, this is her TV.
They could just give her a TV.
Yeah, but they didn't, unfortunately. They gave her a telescope. You know,
a telescope's not bad,
but
that's
that decision you make when you're like, oh, TV rots your brain. Here, look through this telescope and spy on people.
It is kind of weird to have a telescope in the city and not expect a child to use it for something other than just looking up. Like, what are you going to do with a telescope in one of the most highly populated cities on Earth? Tokyo, I don't think at that point was the highest populated city, but it was still getting pretty close.
And so, like you figure, you know, she's watching all of these people during the day when she's awake, and, you know, there's only so much that'll keep her attention, but she happens to have focused on this one particular apartment building just directly across from her if she looks straight on, and she happens to notice this very fit-looking guy in a red rolled-up shirt and black slacks doing, of all things, crunches off the side of the railing of the roof.
Yes, he's doing sit-ups upside down, okay, and his feet like he's facing, his back is against the wall, right? And his feet are hanging over the railing, the hand railing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his feet, the tops of his feet, they're the only things keeping him from dropping off the side of a building while he goes, one, two. I mean, he's not saying it out loud, but he's I'm doing that for you guys because you can't see me.
Him.
You can't see any of this. This is audio.
Yeah, but the little girl can see him.
Right.
And this dude over here, who we should clarify, it's Rio. She's found Rio.
Rio's just doing these sit-ups with his head facing the ground.
Yeah,
several
he's
stories
hanging
up.
off the building. Not only is he doing these crunches, he's doing one-arm pull-ups with this giant vein sticking out of his bicep. He's doing knuckle push-ups. He's doing jump rope.
And the jump ropes, he's jumping like, he gets 3 rotations of the jump rope in at a time before needing to jump again.
Like, he's doing boxer, like, Rocky levels of jump rope right now.
It's pretty nuts, I'm not gonna lie.
And, you know, we've mentioned, you know, the feats of strength and ability and agility that he's shown throughout the show here before, but I think this is the first clear-cut case that we've seen of him actually having to do some kind of bodily maintenance to keep up that ability of physical prowess. Mm-hmm. Because you figure him being able to do all of these things he does, you know, jump off tall buildings and do these dodge rolls and have these quick reflexes, he has to have some kind of exercise regimen that he keeps up.
Right, you figure that must be true. We just never see it happen. You're just kind of like, oh, he's this big buff dude, and I guess that's just how we accept him. But no, he's actually doing stuff. So I questioned, though, because he always knows when he's being watched, and that is true here. She's looking at him do this, and then suddenly he looks over his shoulder and looks directly down the lens of her telescope. And I'm sitting here thinking, was he already doing his workout and then realized he was being watched and then kind of gave a glimpse like, hey, I know you're looking? Or is it that he knew somebody's been out here looking and occasionally sees him, and he just goes and he starts doing ridiculous jump ropes and hanging himself off the side of a building because he's trying to show off to somebody, whoever is looking?
You're saying at this point he doesn't know who's watching him, just that he's being watched.
Possibly, maybe.
Entirely possible, but I feel like even then, my gut feeling tells me this is what he does normally.
I don't doubt that this is what he does normally, but what I'm saying is, you know, I would play DDR normally, right? And then somebody would walk up and be like watching, and I'll be like, all right, now I'm gonna choose to do hard stuff.
So you really think he was showing off?
I mean, I think it's possible.
I don't know. I kind of don't buy it. I get where you're coming from with it. Just me personally, I don't think he was showing off.
It's just he often does things on purpose when he knows that he's being watched. Like,
that is true.
He's been looked at by bad guys and then for that reason gotten totally naked and just showed off his whole ass because he knew he was being watched.
He has done that, yes.
He's put bras on.
And wigs.
And wigs and stuff. He does things on purpose because he's being watched all the time. That's why I'm asking this.
But in any case, we see that this girl apparently has been watching for some time, not just today, but for some extended amount of time, days, weeks even, and has been spying on Rio and apparently Coyote too there in the apartment. So the next day rolls around from this day that she sees him working out on the roof. She looks back over at Rio's apartment and he's not anywhere to be seen. Only because he is now descending like an angel, just floating down like he's some sort of perverted angel from above her floor. And I need you guys to understand the look here. Like, he's floating. Right? Somebody has cast float on Rio, and not only that, it's the music here.
Well, okay,
right?
So for one, the floating, it's just they artistically have decided we need to slow things down because this is the image this girl is getting in her head as he appears in her bedroom window. It just kind of floating in, and his jacket is kind of flapping in the wind while he just kind of gymnastic rolls into the room. And then the music starts. And the first time we saw this episode, we were just like, excuse me? Because it is blatantly somebody barely trying to skirt copyright infringement for Bruce Hornby's The Way It Is, which some of you may need a different reference point for Tupac's Changes, which is utilizing a sample of Bruce Hornsby's The Way It Is.
Right, you know that diddle-dun, 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 that song. And that's
There's another more recent song that's come out in the last couple of years. I shared it with you before. I feel so bad.
I immediately forgot it because I didn't like it more than
I
Tupac.
liked it though. Well, I don't necessarily like it more than Tupac, but I did like it. I'm kicking myself because at the moment I don't remember the name of the artist. But every time that song gets used, all of these songs are great because even going all the way back to Bruce Hornsby's original song, they're all about some kind of social injustice.
Right.
They're all great for that reason. Even Bruce
Yeah,
Hornsby's
the original's a great song.
And then Tupac's version, obviously, it
took that to the next level.
Further pushing these horrible social injustices, as well as this more recent one. God, I'm gonna be kicking myself forever, and maybe I'll put like a link up to this song on social media later because I thought it was actually very good too. That having all been said, let me push that to the side for a bit. This is gonna stick in my head forever. This image of Rio floating down into a window.
Like this Mr. Burns sort of, I had that dream again, Smithers. You know, the one where they float in through the window. Like angelically coming in, like answering this girl's prayers, like, oh, he came, he showed up.
My jaw just dropped because they're barely making any, God, I don't even mean this pun, the changes. They're barely making any changes at all.
They've changed like 4 notes. And that's it. Like, it's the same key. It's the same rhythm. It sounds exactly the same.
It's the same tempo. Oh my God. It's just...
They didn't even try. And if they tried, just really barely. Good. This was very much a clear-cut case of put my name on it. Instead of like John Doe, I'm signing it Juan Doe. That's how that works. Sean Doe. Like, it's only that much different.
And the song keeps playing, right? Because this scene kinda cuts, kinda jarringly, and you can't even hardly tell that it's a different day. We've cut to a different day.
Like, it's the next day, and the song is still playing.
In fact, no, it's probably even been a few days based on what Cowrie is gonna say in a few lines. So we don't really know that several days have passed.
Like a week.
Until like a minute or two into this conversation. We see a shot of Cowrie sitting in their apartment window. Right?
In the living room.
In the living room, just kind of looking out onto the city, and she's like, oh man, there's some glinting light off in the distance. What's that about? And here I am thinking, oh, she's seeing the same thing happening but across the street. But no, Rio is in the apartment playing what I'm assuming is their Sega console that we figured out that they have from several episodes
back we figured out this is a Sega household. But not only is Rio playing video games here, he is playing City Hunter the video game, which for the record had not yet come out, because there was one whole solely dedicated to City Hunter video game that came out from Sunsoft
for the PC Engine, but that didn't come out until March of 1990. So,
even though the copyright when you see the game still says 89.
So I don't think it had a different earlier release. That having been said, this game sure doesn't look all that different from the video game that would actually come out for the PC Engine.
Because the only major difference is, like, you see 3 different floors with dead villains, which are clearly designed to look like Umibozu, and you see Ryo trying to clear the floor in the middle with a laser gun, which, if you play far enough in the PCX version...
The PC Engine.
Or the PC Engine, Ryo gets a laser gun, and he can shoot down all the thugs on the different floors. Mind you, this is also the game where on certain rooftops where bosses are, you can fight a saber-toothed tiger and 3 different metal heroes.
As in literal, like the Tokusatsu 1980s, like this is Charivan, Scheider,
and Gavon.
Once again, not even trying.
They weren't even trying.
Not even
like,
trying.
If you look in the credits for it in the translated version, I think it has them listed as powered suits.
But I actually think those credits are displayed as they are in Japanese too, because they're all misspelled.
Well, yeah,
like,
that's
they're
true.
misspelled with Japanese-style spellings, and there's some kind of a minotaur you can fight in there for some reason.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff in the game. It's mostly a decent enough City Hunter game. You can go look up a playthrough of it over on YouTube right now.
Ryo is there, and he shoots stuff, and he sometimes walks in on half-naked women.
That's a health bonus.
And that's a health bonus, and Kaori is there.
And Kaori gets kidnapped.
And then in the credits, you can see some manga art. Like, you see the manga art that you see in the end credits of this current season right now of Ryo and Kaori, and they've got, like, the scarf around the neck, and they're hugging each other
Yeah,
and
the
smiling.
part that we see during Still Love Her.
So you see Umibozu in some artwork, and you see Saiko in some artwork. I don't know that you actually interact with them in
I
that
don't
game.
believe you do, but I'd have to go back and look through the whole
But
thing.
it's funny because they put them as names of people in the credits.
Yeah,
as
characters.
As if they actually were voiced by anybody.
Like they worked on the game.
Like they were voiced by themselves. Featuring these actors. We brought them in.
And, like, if
this
you
game.
don't know any better, you're looking at it like, who the hell's Hayato Ijuin?
But that's Umibozu. That's his real name.
That's his real name. You gotta remember that.
My question is, for the sake of this anime episode, right? Where he's playing a video game that looks a lot like the real video game that would come out a little under a year later. Very similar, but not the same. One, who developed this game? Okay?
I don't know.
Who developed this game? How do they know Ryo's likeness? How do they know Umibozu's likeness and that he has anything to do with Ryo at all whatsoever? Those are my biggest questions. Like, this is
I don't even know.
This is
Like,
a very
maybe-
specific game.
Maybe somebody over at Sunsoft hired City Hunter and then just remembered, oh man, these were cool guys. I need to make a game about them.
I mean, it's entirely possible somebody bootlegged a game and, like, mailed it to Ryo, like, oh, please playtest my game that I've bootlegged.
Yeah.
Just for you.
If anything, it's just another way of Ryo playing with himself.
Yeah. But,
Low-hanging fruit.
that having been said, this is a real man because he will work out and he will play video games.
See, he's got a good work-life balance.
He does.
Even though Cowdy right now is complaining that he has too much free time on his hands.
How come all he does is play video games? Bitch, did you not see him go up to the roof and dangle himself over the edge just to do sit-ups?
Like, he's up there getting his gains. What are you doing?
He's doing one-arm pull-ups. Give me a break.
Worth noting, it's only on his right arm that we see him working on, not working on both because he needs his right more than his left, because that's a shooting arm.
Okay, come on. We needed to hurry up and show that he could do many workouts.
Okay, fine. In any case, Cowdy comments, oh, I see that light from across the street, and then Ryo, having heard Cowdy say this, is like, hey, I gotta go, be right back, and then he's out the door.
He's very bad at this.
No, he is.
Unless this was like he wanted Kaori to
He might have.
to be kind of suspicious this time. Like, he wanted to include her, but I don't know,
He's
felt
doing it
weird about telling her directly. I do think he's bad about being direct about things.
I mean, come on, you're not gonna sit there and tell me, oh, why is that Ryo suddenly has a hard time telling Cowdy what he actually wants to say? Does that track with his character?
Yeah, remember that time Kaori lost her memory, and he probably told her things, but only under the context that she had lost her memory?
And also wouldn't remember in a few minutes? See? I mean, this is a whole nother conversation about communication, but we're not ready for that.
No, we need to have that discussion in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. So Cowdy comments on that as he leaves. You know, Ryo's been doing that for the last week. Every time I say there's this light glinting several blocks away, he just GTFOs, and I don't know why I haven't tried to follow him, but I'm gonna fix that today. I'm gonna go follow his ass.
And then she does that, and she's complaining about it the whole time, like, why is he doing this? Does he have a mistress? Oh god, it's a mistress, isn't it? And I kind of want to point out here, this is not the first time she has overreacted and jumped the gun and made an assumption about a mistress. And I do want to point out that the subtitles keep saying the word mistress, which, like, it's not wrong.
It's not entirely incorrect.
They've made a choice. So, the word she's using is aijin, which it's very literal, like, love person. Like, if you were to separate these two kanji, it's love person,
Yes.
right? But more specifically, you can get mistress out of it, but you can also get lover out of it.
Which I think would have been a little more accurate to what's going on.
Well,
because
right,
if you use mistress, right, mistress, that has a connotation of it, of like cheating on somebody, which I kind of get where you would think of, oh, maybe we should use that for Coyote, because Coyote emotionally feels like she's in a relationship with Ryo, but they aren't in a defined relationship.
And she knows that. She knows that. And maybe they've made that decision because she feels like they're a thing, even though she knows. She knows they're not a thing.
But see, that's a thing. Like, I had a conversation about this like a week ago with some other people. If you are the only person who thinks you're in a relationship with a person, you need to tell the other person. Because if you don't tell the other person, don't be confused when they start acting weird when you try telling them that. And this has been going on in your head for like months. Because I had that mess happen to me in college, and it was very confusing.
Oh no.
No, apparently I was going out with a girl for about 2 months, and I didn't know it, and she didn't tell me about this.
Oh, you made that person very sad.
Well, they didn't tell me anything. They just said, hey, after class, do you want to come over and watch Fruit Basket and get some pizza? I'm like, great. And that's all she said. And I didn't know those were dates. She didn't tell me. You didn't tell me. And then she started acting real upset with me for a while after that, after we'd finished Fruits Basket. And I'm like, how come we don't hang out no more? It's like, well, because you didn't do anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, yeah, those were dates. And I'm like, hey, on my end, it wasn't even like that. All right? It wasn't even like that. I just like anime.
Hold on.
In my defense, I was only 19.
Okay, great. But did she lead off with the cow episode?
No, we started from the beginning.
Oh, okay. Because
that's a whole nother thing.
Because that's how somebody decided Fruits Basket was to be introduced to people. Was you need to see this episode with the cow.
That happened to me a year previous with a whole different group of people unrelated to this person that tried showing me the cow episode first. I don't know what was up with that. I don't know why certain people decide that's the episode to introduce people to Fruits Basket on.
It's just the wrong episode.
It's the wrong episode. We're getting way off topic here.
It is still anime, at least.
It is still anime. So Coyote follows Ryo's ass all the way to this place called New Life. It says mansion, but by mansion they mean nice apartments.
Right, like you really can't take the word mansion literally when you're talking about in Japanese. Like you need to take
like if it's a high-rise building, they mean apartments.
They mean, sweet, you've got like
an elevator.
Yeah, there's an elevator to your apartment, and it's actually bigger than a shoebox.
Right, exactly. And so Ryo's, going up to this door, knocking, waiting to be let into this apartment that Coyote has no idea who this is. And this very nice young lady answers the door like, oh, hi, come on in. And Coyote, like, her world breaks for a second as Ryo enters the door and closes behind him. She's like, oh, it's true. He does have a mistress. She does exist.
They do exist.
Santa? And so she's freaking out here in the hallway like, oh my god, like he's emotionally cheating on me. And so she could talk through this. She could be like, there's got to be a good reason for this. I haven't actually talked to him. No, what's the first thing she does? She decides to go a floor up, find some place to rappel down from. She got rope. Kaylin, did she bring rope with her?
Okay, did
she bring rope with her?
Well, it seems to me like she would have to go in through the apartment that is literally the upstairs neighbor,
right?
To these people. And either she just busted her way through, she just did a breaking and entering.
She did a B&E.
To do a different breaking and entering.
So she's doing two B&Es.
She's doing a double breaking and entering, or somehow those people were nice enough to say, yes, you can rappel down from our balcony. That sounds great.
Or even more out there, did her ass go all the way up to the roof to
rappel down from the roof?
Yeah.
Okay, that actually seems... At least she would only be doing one breaking and entering, if that was what happened.
Like, to me, yeah, I'm with you. I would have just gone to the floor above, but that would mean there's a whole bunch of other red tape we'd have to figure out. So to me, the simpler answer is she went all the way up to the roof. I don't know how many floors up they are, because we didn't see that.
We do not know how high Kozue's apartment is?
No, we don't. We only see that
she could be on the top floor.
No, she can't be the top floor because she rappelled down from clearly another balcony.
But the top floor isn't the roof, so you can go up to the roof and still rappel down.
If anything, she's second from the top at best, most logically.
Okay, you don't understand. Like, an apartment is not built on the roof. You understand? Like, even if you're the top floor, you have to go up up to the roof to get down into the window of the top floor.
I get what we're saying the same thing. I'm just saying, logically, at best, she is 2 floors down from those top floors. By my best guess.
No, it's not 2 floors. Oh, you don't understand.
So anyway, either way, Cowdy has done this.
Okay, fine. She rappels down onto Kozue's balcony. And what's even more ridiculous is, it doesn't matter how many times we see Kaori, like, pull out a magic hammer out
from behind her back.
Just from a pocket dimension or something. No, this time, she's magical girl summoned this hammer because she does a cool pose. She pulls her hand across her body, and then there's like a twinkling sound effect.
Yes.
And then poof, a hammer just shabams into her hand.
Like a light construct forming in her hand. This 100-ton hammer. So Cowdy is magic. Like, let's just get that out of the way. Cowdy is magic.
I know we've had espers, right? And we've had a guy who says he's a magician, but he just pulls some, like, bullshit doves out of a hat or whatever. He's really bad at it. No, Kaori knows magic.
She is a magical girl.
We've just got one of these people in our show. In our otherwise absurd but semi-realistic show, okay? For as realistic as it is to be able to hear guns on a rooftop 3 miles away. But sure, we're somewhere in the world of realism. And then Kaori...
And then there's Cowdy.
And then Kaori can magical girl summon a hammer.
Yes.
Okay.
And we just accept that.
Yeah.
Because we love Cowdy here at the show.
And then she decides, oh, is this a sliding glass door that I could just slide open and walk through? No.
More than that,
no.
That you can just look through. She didn't even bother looking.
It's glass. It's glass.
It's not even
window.
tinted.
It's a window.
It's not even frosted glass. It's not tinted glass. You can see into the room. But she doesn't bother. She's like, nope, we swinging.
Shabams! Just glass shattered.
Stone Cold themes hitting. Opening to Kamen Rider Ryuki's playing. Whatever your preferred glass-breaking meme is, that's playing right now.
I mean, that has to be you filling that music in, because that's obviously, those things have not existed as of yet in 1989. But, yes.
Cowdy has broken into this girl's room, and Cowdy sees the shocked look of Kozue and Ryo in the room like, what the hell are you doing? You crazy woman!
And what I think is great is that obviously Kaori feels embarrassed and ashamed. This time she really should. She genuinely should this time. But the hammer in her hand deflates and shrinks.
Like it flops over in her hand.
Well, it turns...
Like a wilted flower.
Well, it turns into the size of an actual, normal...
tack hammer.
Normal person-sized tack hammer, and then flops over limp.
Yeah.
Just very erectile dysfunction right in her hand.
Which tells me that the strength of her hammer is based on her emotions.
Oh, well, that could be.
Well, yeah, because, the more furious she is, the bigger the hammer is, the weight of the hammer, and then here, when all that gets deflated, so does the hammer.
I mean, I wouldn't want an embarrassed hammer.
That's why I suggest you go speak to your doctor if you have a deflated hammer.
If you have an embarrassed hammer.
Consult your physician.
But, you know what? Kozue, the little girl here that Ryo's been talking to for a week, apparently, she's not really bothered by this now.
No, she's expected it. And she says, oh, you're here, just like he said you'd be. So you must be Kaoru, the little brother, right?
Oh, man. We're doing this shit again. And it's not nearly as bad as it's been before in previous episodes, where Ryo very deliberately tries to mislead somebody.
Into misgendering Kaori.
Into misgendering Kaori. It's still not great, because Ryo doesn't do anything to combat this mistake. He's laughing about it. He still thinks it's really funny. But also, it's really clear that part of this is deliberate because, he loves to dick with her. He just loves to get on her nerves because Kozue even says, oh, well, he said you would come in through the window. He knew the whole time she was gonna be there. He knew eventually she was gonna follow him. And
it was just a matter of time.
And so, yeah, she's eating crow right now.
Literal crow, because if you look on the wall on the side of Kozue's room, she's got a picture of the comedy crow.
How popular is this little guy in this town, this universe?
He's rivaling Sanrio, I imagine.
Oh, wow. He's
Popular crow.
Doing pretty well for himself.
But I think it's really funny and cute that Kozue tells her, "Oh my god, you're actually here. I know you from the telescope." It's like her way of saying, "I know you from TV."
And I'm so glad that you're all here and we're all hanging out and now I'm not lonely and bored and shit.
And at this point, Kozue's big sister comes in because clearly she must have heard glass breaking. She's like, "Everything all right in here?" And she's like, "Oh, you're taking care of her. Oh, this is your little sister. Oh, I screwed up. Oh." And
big shame.
Big shame. So, like, her and Ryo have to go have a talk now. And so they're out walking on this bridge in the middle of the city. I love a lot of the animation in this episode, specifically right here where you see the passing, going and coming lights on the freeway beneath the bridge
the
they're
traffic,
on.
And also it's now nighttime, and so it's dark, but the lights of the cars, the passing cars, are especially bright, and you see the trailing of the headlights and the tail lights, very, not too dissimilar from kind of Akira-esque tail light trailing. You know,
but also
similar. It's not the same, but it is similar.
It's something about that is a visual that gets identified with the series a lot, going all the way back to the animation in Get Wild.
Yeah, passing city lights, because, I mean, that's kind of this... It's just the character of this show, a large chunk of it is the city. It's right there in the name, you know? Just how much this city kind of colors the content of everything happening around them.
And so they're having this conversation to fill everything in, you know, Ryo telling her all of these things about Kozue. So it turns out she's paralyzed from the waist down, and she's been watching Kaori and Ryo from the telescope, and this is like her only form of entertainment.
Which is a bummer, you know?
But at the same time, you like feel for her.
Yeah, of course you do.
And so Kaori's kind of asking Ryo, "Well, I get that you're doing all this to be nice, and I get, you know, because I was seeing it, the light signal was your cue to go over and visit. How come you didn't tell me about it?"
Well, I don't need to tell you. I'm cool, and I'm an adult.
"And by the way, Kaori, how come you had to rush in after me like I was doing something bad? Were you jealous?"
No. I mean, everybody's just kind of fibbing back and forth.
Yeah, they're kind of just bouncing back and forth the blame here, and it's actually really good banter between the two of them right here. The way they're batting it back and forth between the two, like practiced actors. And then she bounces it back in his direction. "Well, also, why didn't you clear up that I'm not your little brother, huh?"
And she came to that mistake all on her own. Yeah, well, you could have at least corrected her. And she hits him with a hammer for real this time, because, you know what? Yeah, I'd be upset about that too.
So they go back again now. Now the two of them are both free to go and come as they please to visit her, because Kozue absolutely loves their company. And she's telling them, "You know, I hate hospitals, and I hate how boring hospitals are, so I'm really glad I met y'all. You know, when I get better, if I ever do get better, I'd really just like to go on a walk with you guys. I really like you guys. You're cool."
I don't think Ryo is here at this point in time. I think it's just Kaori.
No, yeah, she's just talking to Kaori. You're right.
But yeah, she's just thinking of the two of them as like, wow, I've really kind of gotten to know you from the telescope, and I just feel like you could be my big brother and sister, and I could be the little sister, and we're just gonna go for walks in the park, and it's gonna be great.
And this is kind of like a parasocial relationship going on here.
I guess so, yeah, you could say that, except, like, they're forming a real relationship now. Like, it's become a real relationship.
It doesn't happen all the time, just so long as you're not a creepo. You know, maybe
Do you consider somebody watching you through a telescope being a creepo?
It's a start, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, if it's like a grade school little kid who was paralyzed from the waist down and doesn't have a lot to excite them in life, then you kind of give them a little bit of a pass.
That's true. Kozue does actually apologize to Kaori, like, "I'm sorry, I made the mistake, I thought you were the little brother," and Kaori's like, no, that happens all the time. But why though? Kaori's not exactly, to me, this is not somebody that I would think is trying to present as anything other than female, even if she's not dressing in skirts all the time, but she does dress in skirts though.
Like, that's the
and
thing.
People still misgender her.
Even in Kozue's mind right here, when she's imagining walking with the two of them, Kaori's in a mini skirt.
Yeah, so I don't understand. And like the way Hojo will draw her in the manga, like he just gives her the greatest ass in the best jeans. I don't understand. She's hot!
And even here in this episode, her face, it's drawn cuter than normal for the entirety of the episode. It's not just like one shot here or there. They're trying to play up that she's attractive.
Yeah, so I don't get it. I don't understand.
But now we're getting to the meat of the episode, and so Kozue asks Kaori, hey, so, like, real talk, what does Ryo do for work? Is he, like, a detective or something?
I mean, kinda. Why?
Well, because, like, I watch you guys and kind of understand a little bit about what he has to be able to do. Like, a regular person can't come in through the window the way he did, and also, I think he acts goofy just as a cover, right? Is that what he's like?
And Kaori's like, well, she's half right. She's just kind of saying this to herself off to the side. She's almost entirely right.
Yeah,
honestly.
She's pretty damn close. Like, for being a little girl, she's incredibly perceptive.
Because sometimes Ryo is goofy because he's goofy and a little bit aloof. But we have noted on multiple occasions when he is being goofy in order to cover up for something else that he's trying to accomplish.
Like when he's trying to distract somebody from a gun going off or trying to make sure they're not in danger. He's done this multiple times over the seasons now. So yeah, she picked up on that real quick.
But then Kozue also mentions, he's not even the first detective that I've noticed here. You want to see another one? Here's a guy right over here. And she pulls out her telescope and points it at another building across the way. And there's just this weird creepy guy in a hat and a coat and then glasses on. And
like he's got this like cabbie hat and he kind of looks like an alt version of Stallone in Cobra. If you've ever seen the poster for that,
yes.
He looks like that.
Kaori's like, oh, really? What's up with this guy? He looks pretty weird.
Kozue tells her this whole story she's made up in her head of like, oh, maybe it was a very rich man who's in love with my sister and hired a private detective to look in on her, and that's why he's watching us. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And Kaori's like, I don't think so.
So she's pretty good about getting Ryo's intentions. She's shit at figuring out this guy's intentions. Even though there he is on the roof of this building going, hey.
Like he's making this real creepy smile.
Weird, creepy smirk.
And then Kozue's like, oh, well, enough about that. You want to look at your own apartment? Because I look at you guys all the time.
Yeah, let's see what's going on over there. Ryo's probably still over there right now. I know he hasn't come over yet, so let's see what he's doing. Why are you in my underwear drawer?
Again.
Get my bra off of your head.
And she's like, I gotta go. So Kaori's like storming off, and as she's leaving, Kozue tells her, well, see if you guys can come by later. My sister's gonna be home late. Okay, bye.
They'll be back later.
And yeah, as Kaori is leaving the building, you see creepy guy again from across the way making that hey smile again. Like, he's about to do something, and it ain't gonna be good. So we flash over to Kaori and Ryo's apartment, and we hear the sounds of Ryo getting his ass beat.
He's just like, I was just playing around. Yeah, how often does this keep happening? You can't just be playing around with my bras.
Sir, you have a problem.
And like, are we a thing or not? Because maybe it'd be different if we were a thing and you wanted to play around with my bras. But if we're not a thing, you can't be playing around with my bras. I mean, I'm just saying that's how I would feel. Like,
well, very much that's got to be how Kaori feels right now. And then she's like, all right, now walk it off and go back over there. Kozue wants you to go visit.
Ryo's just like, not after the way you hit me. I'm not walking anything off.
Also, she hasn't sent the signal yet.
Oh, that is weird. How come she hasn't sent a signal? Meanwhile, on the other side of town, here comes the creepy man in the hat and glasses going, hey. He's
she
here.
Sees the guy. He's here now.
He's at the building.
And he's trying to break in.
But no, he does break in though. Like, she finally sees him and she's just like, he's not a nice detective at all.
You hear him like trying to rattle open their front door.
Which he does. He manages to get in.
And so Kozue is trying to make her way over to a mirror she has on, like, her nightstand to try and signal Ryo.
And she's rolling over, like, she's in her wheelchair. She's like, I gotta roll over there real fast, but her telescope is on the floor, and she just, like, she's not paying attention because she's trying to go too fast. She's just not even thinking about it, and she hits it, and she falls out of her wheelchair.
As the audience, you're watching like, oh no, this is horrible. And, she's trying to crawl on her arms, trying to get to the window to try and find some way to get to Ryo, get his attention, and then here comes creepy dude through the door, and what's that he's got in his hand?
It's a knife!
No! And he's coming closer, and it looks like he's like almost right on top of her, and she's yelling for help. Somebody help me! Somebody help me! And then thankfully at the last second, boom, pachinko ball.
Because this is a thing Ryo can do, apparently. We've seen he's capable of doing this, like, a lot. He just flicks whatever he's got in his pocket. For some reason right now, it's pachinko balls.
And he's done this more than once.
We talked about how in the manga, he was flicking, like, 10 yen coins or whatever.
Like he does it here, he's done it in a previous episode. He's also done it in Shinjuku Private Eyes.
Right, correct. And so he flicks a pachinko ball into the dude's knife and knocks the knife out of the guy's hand. And he's ready with another pachinko ball. Like, he could pull his gun out and really solve this problem. But he's so good, he doesn't need to draw his gun. He just needs pachinko balls to win.
I mean, that's how you play pachinko. You need pachinko balls to win.
Yeah, but you need, like, a lot of them.
I mean, he's probably got a lot. I imagine he gambles.
That's probably why they're often out of money.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. He might have a gambling problem.
Where does he get the pachinko balls, Josh? He pockets a bunch of them and takes them home with him.
And so this is enough to scare the would-be assailant off, and he goes running out of the door, and Kozue just slumps into Ryo's arms and just starts bawling. Because, yeah, clearly she's been through a horrific event just now. And Ryo's, like, trying to calm her down, like, it's okay, just calm down, it'll be alright. Kaori finally shows up.
Kaori asks what's going on. Ryo doesn't explain the whole thing just yet, just that Kozue should probably have something cold to drink, and kind of gets Kaori out of the room while he's trying to calm Kozue down. The unfortunate thing here, however, is that Kozue is up pretty close to Ryo at this moment.
Up to his chest.
And so it's impossible not to see he is outfitted with his 357 Magnum, and she just has this whole PTSD episode right in front of him. And of course she does. You'll find out, like, there's a reason why.
In very short order, we'll reveal that.
She's been through some shit. And she's just screaming, and she's trying to get away from Ryo. She thinks, like, oh no, he's got a gun, so he can't be this good detective that I thought he was. And it's true, she doesn't have the full picture. She doesn't know all the information. But as she's crawling away,
Ryo's looking at her as she's crawling away, and she apparently has on her lower back, on I think it's her right side, this small scarred area, which clearly looks like it's about the size of a bullet.
Yeah, definitely it looks like it's a bullet hole scar. And so he's left her alone at this point. We assume we're just gonna leave her in her room to calm down, while the sister has now come back, because the sister was supposed to show up late, and the sister is back now.
Who we now find out her name is Yuka. Barely this late in the episode we find out what her name is. And so now we're having to clear up between this conversation between Kaori, Ryo, and Yuka. Alright, we've got a couple of pieces we need to put into place here. Can you tell us anything about the reason why she's paralyzed? Was she always like this, or did something happen?
Because I saw that scar, and I believe she had been shot. Is that the case? Yuka explains, okay, yes, that is in fact why she is paralyzed. 6 months ago, she was coming home late from hanging out with friends and stuff, and she was just trying to take a shortcut someplace, and she went down a route she doesn't usually go down, and unfortunately found herself kind of eavesdropping on accident on this real bad conversation between two dudes, and one guy was real mad at the other guy, and one of those two guys had a gun, and the guy with the gun shot the gun, and it hit the guy, but it didn't stop in the guy. It went all the way through the guy, and it hit her, and that's what paralyzed her, and she's been paralyzed for the last 6 months. The bullet is still in her body. If we removed the bullet, she might be able to walk, but the surgery could also potentially damage her even worse. So, thus, we have not had the surgery yet. However, there have been new surgical advances, and they're saying it might now be possible to do this surgery and get this bullet out, and she might be able to walk again.
So we've got that scheduled for next week, and we're hoping that does the trick. And so Ryo fills in the missing context here because, like we talked about in the last episode, he's very much aware of what's going on in the underworld around Shinjuku. And so he says, yeah, well, I happen to know who it was that got killed in that scuffle. The guy who died was a Yakuza boss. So whatever was going on, that bullet, if they pull it out to help her to walk again, that counts as evidence. So whoever did this, they're gonna come back and try again.
Which, that's not good. We should probably move you over to my apartment. We'll talk about doing that some more tomorrow. Let me go check in on her one more time, see if she'll even talk to me about this.
And as he's doing all of this, we hear some other music playing in the background, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what is this? It sounds like Ryo again, but like sing-talking, like Rex Harrison style.
No, he's not sing-talking, he's just monologuing.
Right. And it's the song from the City Hunter 2 OST called Chance, where it is Akira Kamiya doing this monologue as Ryo.
And then it goes into a full song as his character, as Ryo.
Like an image song,
Yeah, it's like an image song. It's an image insert song about Ryo being City Hunter. I'm the guy that's a sweeper, and I'm City Hunter, and I got my 357 Magnum, and then there's Kaori, and then, like, he's just monologuing about all this stuff. It's just playing kind of lightly in the background, but, you know, it's there. And you only hear it a couple of times throughout the season. Like, it's a very rare usage of this song.
And so he goes into Kozue's room, and she seems to be asleep, but she kind of stirs awake, like, oh, hey, I didn't mean to startle you. I just wanted to talk to you about some stuff. And Kozue very straightforwardly asks him, hey, so like that gun you have on you, do you still have it on you right now? He's like, yeah. All right, I want to see it.
And he's like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, I'm not scared. It was all really sudden. Can I just look at it? And he's like, all right. Thankfully, like he's got good trigger control, trigger discipline, and like he's not pointing the gun at her, and his finger's not even on the trigger at all. He's holding it kind of sideways, and she's like, okay, great, so I know you're not like those guys that tried to hurt me. This was all just such a sudden thing, and I got spooked. I didn't know what was going on,
but I believe in you. I know you're that good detective I thought you were. And
also, can I touch it?
Yeah, like I wouldn't have done that. Don't let kids touch guns. Like I didn't think that was a thing we'd have to argue about.
Because also I'm not convinced that Ryo doesn't carry a loaded gun. I'm pretty convinced that
I'm
gun's
convinced
loaded.
He would have the safety on because he has amazing trigger discipline, but at the same time still don't let a kid touch a gun.
Yeah.
But I love right here the shot of her looking at Ryo, and you see the city lights in between the two of them. It's a great shot.
Yeah.
Just some amazing coloring right there.
You know what I'm really grateful for this whole episode? We didn't do any jokes about Ryo hitting on a 12-year-old.
Thank God.
He was just being a nice guy the entire time.
No, he was being a stand-up dude this whole time.
Yeah, he was just like, this little girl actually just needs some company, and that's it.
And seeing like this is what she needed, and this is what's gonna help her right now, he tells her, okay, so yeah, you know what? I am a good detective. And because I'm a good detective, my job is to protect good people like you from bad people like that guy from earlier with the knife.
You know, we're simplifying what his job is, but it's not, like, incorrect.
Right, exactly. And so he tells her, look, the safest thing right now is for you and your sister to come stay at our apartment. Now, I know that might be a shock to you. And before he can even finish, she's like, hell yeah!
Let's go right now. He's like, I was thinking tomorrow, but, and she's like, no, now is great.
I want to go right now.
Which, frankly, if I'm to be honest, actually you probably should leave, like, right now, because if they left her all alone in the middle of the night, that guy's gonna come back.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, he did. He's still standing outside. He's still out there. You see him? He's against the wall. He's literally right there.
Like, we see everybody pile into the Mini Cooper, the only time we see it in this episode, as we're starting to hear Still Love Her playing in the background, and as they're driving off, he's just right there in front of the building.
He was standing and waiting.
His ass ain't hiding at all.
So he might have heard that they're gonna go over to Ryo's place, but at least at Ryo's place, she's gonna be protected by Ryo.
Like, he can defend her better there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, even if he didn't overhear the conversation, all he has to do is follow the car.
On foot?
Yeah. Because clearly, she's within walking distance if we can see through the telescope. They're not gonna go that far.
Telescopes can see pretty far, Josh. Do you know what telescopes are for? They're to see things that are far away.
Yeah, but even then, they can figure it out. Whoever that is can figure it out.
Oh, I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying he can't figure it out. I'm saying it would be unreasonable to go on foot.
Well, maybe he's got a motorcycle or something, I don't know. But as the episode is ending right here, we actually hear Kozue narrating, and then I went to go visit at their apartment. Tune in next time.
Oh, wow, I thought we saved that shit for the beginning of part 2s, but okay, we're doing this now.
Yeah, we're doing a fourth wall break here of her telling us to tune in. Like, she's self-aware that this is a show.
She's a little little girl, and she's got this imagination that her life is a TV show, and people have been watching it for the past, 40 years.
I'm gonna tell her, don't you dare. And yes, of course, that's where Still Love Her starts playing, and that's the end of part 1.
And in part 2, we're gonna find the guy.
Obviously, because we gotta wrap this up.
And she's probably gonna walk. Let's not kid ourselves here. If suddenly you learned, and then the surgery went badly and she died. Oh my god!
Come on, Kaylin, this isn't Japanese Spider-Man, alright?
Oh yeah, Japanese, I love the shit out of Japanese Spider-Man, but man, he's just the worst hero. He's literally the worst tokusatsu hero they've ever made. He's so good, but he's so terrible at what he does.
But Ryo's not like
that.
But
Ryo is not Japanese Spider-Man. He's much better at his job than Japanese Spider-Man is.
But no, I really do like this episode. Obviously, we talked for almost a whole ass hour here.
Yeah, here we were, before we sat down to take notes, we were it's just the episode with the girl in the wheelchair. We're not going to have a lot to say. And then it turned out this was, the Way It Is episode, and also the video game, and then there's the crow in the background, and,
all this stuff.
And then Kaori was a magical girl. It turned out there was so much more jam-packed in here in just a stupid, simple episode that I think is a filler episode. I'm not sure. I might have just not checked the manga.
Well, then we'll have to look into that for next week's installment of the podcast.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe they play the Bruce Hornsby copyright song again.
I don't think it ever comes up ever again.
So they only did it the one time, and then I imagine Sunrise got a note back hey, y'all better quit that shit. We barely got away with that one.
And yet, we can now buy it on Blu-ray, and nobody's stopping them. Nobody has told Bruce Hornsby and The Range, because that's the full name of the band,
that their song was used or plagiarized.
Yeah, and is now selling copies on Blu-ray.
Yeah, but you think about it, you figure somebody would have told him about it sometime between then and now. It's been about 35 years. You figure he would know.
Does he care? Does he care that it's in this one episode?
Kaylin.
What?
Kaylin.
What?
Does he know?
I don't know.
Does he know?
I don't know. I know what you're doing, but I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, we'll cover more about that on next week's episode.
So come back next time when we cover the 48th episode of City Hunter 2, Wanting to Fall in Love Just Like a Dream, The Strategy of a 12-Year-Old Angel, Part 2.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on most social media. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 98th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna make sure Josh gets lost.
How are you gonna do that? I have a better sense of direction than you.
I'm gonna move the whole house.
Wait, you can do that?